Good morning everyone, this is Chandrila and today we will start fourth chapter, that is pressure in fluids and atmospheric pressure. In this chapter we have two sections. In first section we will learn about pressure in fluids and in second section especially we will learn about atmospheric pressure. So in first section some concepts I have written which we have already learned in the last chapter. About force, we know that force is a vector quantity which will have a direction along with the magnitude. And in this chapter, one new word has been given, that is thrust. So, if the force acts perpendicularly or normal on the surface, that is known as thrust. That means thrust is nothing actually. It is force in a particular or specified direction. Since force is a vector quantity, therefore thrust is also a vector quantity. Unit will be same, that is Newton, same as the force. Now we will start pressure, which is actually our chapter. Pressure. Pressure is actually thrust per unit area. Thrust per unit area. Per unit means divided. So thrust upon area is known as pressure, and here obviously thrust means perpendicular force and area means area. Okay, next thing about pressure is that it is a scalar quantity. It will only have magnitude. Next thing is about SI unit. From formula we will derive SI unit. Thrust upon area, we know that thrust is pressure, so its unit, SI unit will be Newton upon divided by area. Area for meter square, which is known as Newton per meter square. This is the SI unit of force, pressure. And now some more units are given here, but before that I will write this. Newton per meter square is also known as Pascal. Okay, so that means the SI unit of pressure is Newton per meter square or Pascal. Generally we use unit Pascal, which is represented by PA for pressure. Okay, one revision for some units is given here, that is about 1 Newton, or you can say Newton, dyne, kilogram force and gram force. Okay, about all these things we have learned already, and relation between them also we have seen. If you still want once again, we know that 1 Newton is equal to 10 raised to power 5 dyne. Similarly, next one kilogram force is equal to 9.8 Newton. This is 0.8 Newton, and the last one is 1 gram force is equal to 980 dyne. All these things we have already seen, but here for pressure we will use Newton. This is given for this one, that is for thrust or force it is Newton, then meter square, which is known as Pascal. Okay, next thing is after units, some more special units for pressure is given. These are actually the units of force. Okay, and in this chapter we are learning about pressure. So for pressure, along with it some more units are given. We know that SI unit of pressure, SI unit of pressure is equal to Newton per meter square, and 1 Newton per meter square is equal to 10 dyne per centimeter square. I hope I do not need to tell you this unit, because you see here, as you have derived your SI unit here, similarly we can also derive CGS unit. Here we have written SI unit. SI unit of force is Newton, SI unit of area is meter square. Similarly, CGS unit of force is dyne and CGS unit of area is centimeter square. That's why here we have written 1 Newton per meter square is equal to 10 dyne per centimeter square. That means this is the CGS unit, this is the SI unit, and this is the relation between them. So it's one of the important relation between SI and CGS unit, but some more units of pressure are used. That means except Pascal also we have some units. The first is 1 bar pressure, or unit is bar, then pressure for pressure. That is equal to 10 raised to power 5 Newton per meter square. Your same SI unit. 1 bar is equal to 10 raised to power 5 Newton per meter square. Similarly, 1 atmospheric pressure is equal to 0.76 meter, or you can say 76 centimeter, or you can say 760 millimeter of Hg. This you have learnt in the smaller classes about it. That means the atmospheric pressure. In this section we will not learn much things about atmospheric pressure, but still we know that atmospheric pressure is measured by, you can write if you want, atmospheric pressure is measured with the help of barometer, and we know that in barometer we fill liquid. That liquid is Hg, mercury. Why, when, how, that we will see in the second section when we will learn about atmospheric pressure in detail. But here this much is enough, that atmospheric pressure is measured by barometer, and in barometer we fill a liquid. That liquid is mercury. So 1 atmospheric pressure is equal to 0.76 meter of Hg. Hg means mercury. That means in your barometer, if you are taking height from 0 to 100, then at 0.6 you can take that in meter, centimeter or Hg. That is your wish. Suppose if it is in the centimeter, then at 76 centimeter, when your barometer shows the reading 76 centimeter, that means it is 1 atmospheric pressure here. Okay, about this we will read it in detail. Right now it is just one basic concept, that means just one theoretical concept, that 1 atmospheric pressure is equal to 0.76 meter. Now you know how to convert meter into centimeter and centimeter into millimeter. So that is same relation. This is in meter, this is centimeter, and this is millimeter. 1 atmospheric pressure is also equal to 1.013 into 10 raised to power 5 Pascal. This is also very important relation which we will need in the numericals, not only now but in your higher classes also you will need it, and especially this digital values after decimal, 1.013 into 10 raised to power 5 Pascal. After that, one more thing we will learn, that is 1 torr is equal to 1 mm of Hg. So that means if you ever need to convert your 76 mm of Hg, then we know that here, if you want I can write it again. 1 atmospheric pressure is equal to 760 mm of Hg, and you know that 1 mm is equal to 1 torr, therefore that is also equal to 760 torr. So these are some relations between the units of pressure which are very important, especially the relation between SI and CGS unit, then about 1 atmospheric pressure and 1 bar. At least these 3 forms we have to anyhow remember. Then now we will go back to our topic. These things were only about the units of the pressure. Now we will go to again pressure, that is factors affecting pressure. As its formula indicates that there are 2 things which will affect the pressure. From the formula we can say that P is equal to thrust upon area. Therefore pressure depends on 2 things. First is the amount of thrust applied, because pressure is directly proportional to thrust. So if the amount of perpendicular force applied will be more, then automatically the pressure will be more. And the second thing is area on which the pressure is exerting. That means pressure is inversely proportional to area. So if you will increase the surface area, pressure will decrease, and if you will decrease the area, then the pressure will increase. And both same concepts we use for increasing or decreasing the value of pressure, because when we will learn the application of pressure, that means practical application machines, then we will need to increase or decrease the pressure, and similarly area and thrust also. Okay, so first factor is here, sometimes we will need to increase pressure. And obviously to increase pressure you have 2 things. First thing is you can increase the thrust, that is the perpendicular force, but generally it's not possible. Generally we try that in minimum efforts we can get maximum output. So generally you have two methods, no doubt. You can increase the thrust, that is perpendicular force, and second thing, you can decrease the area, because area is inversely proportional to pressure. So if you will decrease area, then pressure will increase. So what you want to increase the pressure. You have two methods, either increase the force or decrease the area. Generally we prefer this method just so that we can get maximum output in minimum effort. We do not need to apply more force. That means in minimum work we want maximum output. So generally we prefer this method. Otherwise you can prefer any one of these method. Here some examples are given. All the examples are very important, so you need to see it carefully. The first example given is end of iron nails. Here it's written nails. Nails means iron nails. Generally we know that one end of the iron nail is pointed, this pointed end. Why? So that area is less. You see here upper portion of the iron nail has this much area, whereas this one end of the iron nail has only this much area. So here the area is very less. So if the area will be less, then the pressure will be more. That means even if you will apply a small amount of force or thrust, then you can get maximum pressure because you have decreased the area. Same concept we have used. And the second example is given for cutting tools. Cutting tools. All the cutting tools such as knife, etc., scissors, you can see their edges are sharp or pointed because again what, to decrease the area so that you can increase the pressure in minimum efforts. So these are two examples given here. Many other examples we will learn later. Now our next topic is, suppose we want to decrease pressure. If we want to decrease pressure, in that condition again you have two methods, because your pressure depends on two factors. You can decrease thrust, or second thing, you can increase area. Here also generally we prefer this method. Okay, so here you see, because sometimes it's not possible to control force, that we will see right now. First example given here is the wooden sleepers, or wooden sleepers you can write. Wooden sleepers are placed under railway track. Railway track. Now you see here what we have done, we want to decrease pressure on the earth's ground. That means we know that a train, railway track is used for trains only, na? So train will have a very large amount of weight, since it is very lengthy and a lot of people and luggage will be there. Itself it is made up of iron, so that means it is technically very heavy. So automatically we know that it will exert a large pressure on the ground. So to decrease that pressure, what we have done, we have kept wooden sleepers. Wooden sleepers means made up of wood. Some large shaped wooden pieces you can consider them. Why? Because in this case you cannot reduce the thrust. That means since the train has such a purpose that you cannot reduce its size, you cannot change the metal by which it is made up of. That means in this condition this is not possible. You cannot reduce the thrust, but the next option is with you, that is you can increase the area so that you can decrease the pressure. And the second example is foundation of buildings. Foundation of buildings. Here also same concept is applicable. That means if you have to construct 3 floors, 1, 2, 3 floors, if you have to construct, then again you don't control this thrust by a large level. That means if anyhow you want 5 rooms on one floor, then there must be 5 rooms now. You cannot do anything in that. But the next method along with you is again change the area, so that the foundation, that means this ground floor foundation is made wider, so that area will be more, then the pressure exerted by these upper floors can be decreased, because pressure and area are inversely proportional to each other. That means what we have learned? We have learned that pressure can be increased or it can be decreased by two methods. First one is thrust and second method is area. Generally we prefer area. Next thing is, now our actual topic about which we will learn in the fourth chapter starts, and that is pressure in fluids. Our next topic is pressure in fluids. Okay. We know that till now we have learnt about three forms of matter. So about solids we know that they will exert pressure. They will exert pressure on the surface, right? That means if you have taken one box and if you have kept it on the surface of surface or earth surface or ground of the earth, then this liquid will exert pressure due to its weight, that we know. Okay, and that means this bottom portion of the solid will only exert the pressure, that is weight. That will be the perpendicular force, you can say, in the downward direction. If there is force, there will be pressure. So solids exert the pressure. Similarly, fluids also exert pressure. Now next thing is, fluids means liquids and gases, because fluids means those things or those material substance which can flow, they are known as fluids. That means we know that under that we can put two things under that category, that is liquids and gases. That means as solids exert pressure on the ground or the surface on which they are kept, similarly fluids also exert pressure. That means the liquids and gases also exert pressure. Now the difference is, solids exert pressure only at bottom, whereas fluids exert pressure in all directions. All directions means along with this bottom portion, this you can say, along with the bottom, fluids, suppose liquids, they will also exert pressure on the walls of the container. That means a liquid molecule exert pressure in all directions, at all points also. For that, here one experimental verification is given to prove this point only, that the fluids exert pressure in all direction. And in experiment what they have done is, they have taken a container and then they have kept here some holes. That means some places are here through which the liquid can move out. This one, here also, and here also. Okay, we know that if there is a container and if it has three openings or three holes we have made here, let it be 1, 2, 3. These are our three holes. Okay, so if these holes are open, then we know that the liquid will come out from all the holes. So in our this experiment, we will see some observations. And our first observation is, if we have made here 3 holes, then the liquid will come out from all the 3 holes. If you will make here 10 holes, then the water will come out from all the 10 holes. That means as many holes as we are making here or constructing here, the liquid come out from all the holes. And if the liquid is coming out through this free space, that means this liquid particle was exerting a force on the wall. Here also the liquid is exerting a force, but here the container is having wall, and this wall doesn't allow this pressure or this water molecule to come out. But here at the opening, this water molecule found a sufficient space or a way to come out. That means all these water molecules exert pressure on the walls of the container. In this case also it is true that these liquid molecules will exert pressure on this wall also, on this wall also. But since we are doing the experiment, so we are doing only with respect to this side only. Here also you can make the holes. Same thing will happen. That means the first observation is that water or liquid, here I am using water, so I can write here water, comes out from all holes, comes out. Okay, and this proves that water or liquid exert pressure in all direction, exert pressure in all direction. This is our first observation. Then about second observation, if we will put a finger here or if we will try to stop it with the help of our palm, then we will experience a force, and that force again proves that these liquids are exerting a perpendicular thrust, and since our palm or finger will have some area, so automatically if there is pressure and force and area, then there will be pressure. That means again second verification is we feel thrust, and then automatically there will be area and therefore pressure. That means again it verifies that these water molecules exert pressure on the walls of the container. And our third and very important observation is that you see this is the base of this container and the water is falling at different distance from this container. This water is falling here only, that is just nearby the bottom of the container, and this is falling here again nearby the container, and from this hole the water is falling here again from nearby the container. That means this horizontal distance from bottom of the container is different, and these are varying. These variations are coming because the holes are at a different height from the free surface. Free surface means the free surface above the water. From here always we will consider the depth. So these three holes are at a different depth. That's why they are covering here different horizontal distance. But you see the hole which is at the maximum depth, that covers maximum horizontal distance. And the second hole which is at the less depth, that will cover less than this, and the hole which is at the least depth, that will cover the minimum horizontal distance. That means as the depth increases, pressure also increases as depth. And here sometimes you will get the word height. Height means from here, so you can get depth or you can get height. As height increases, pressure also increases. So this is our experiment which proves that fluids, and generally we are learning about liquids in this chapter. So liquids exert pressure in all directions. All directions means at the bottom of the container obviously, as well as on the walls of the container also. Actually the molecule will exert pressure in all directions, but here we have not considered the atmospheric pressure. That means above this free level we are having atmosphere here. Atmosphere is present everywhere on the earth. So one pressure will be exerted by this air also. That means this atmosphere also, and that will be P naught. That we will discuss later. Rest of the things we will see in the next class. Thank you.